When I was younger, I was incredibly skinny. I was like 130 pounds, soaking wet, ginormous head because I had a lot of brains back then. And my buddy Don was the same mirror image of me, except instead of brown hair, he had blonde hair. Together we looked like Beavis and Butthead. The reason I wanted to share that with you, and a lot of people said we acted like Beavis and Butthead back then as well. The reason I wanted to share that with you is in North Texas, two men, 21-year-old Gavin Weisenberg and 20-year-old Tanner Thomas, were federally indicted because they had an ingenious plan. Get this.
Federal officials announced the indictments for Gavin Weisenberg and Tanner Thomas. Investigators allege the men were looking to recruit a small army, take a sailboat to an island just a few miles off the coast of Haiti, kill all the men on the island, and enslave the women and children.
To take some homeless men from Washington, D.C., basically take a paddle boat over to an island in Haiti known as Gonave Island, and they were actually going to plan on taking over the island by killing all the men and then enslaving all the women and children and basically becoming god of the island. Is that crazy or what?
These are the North Texas men federal prosecutors say were planning to travel to an island in Haiti to kill the men and turn the women into sex slaves. Prosecutors say Weisenberg and Thomas planned to invade the island by sailboat, heavily armed, using homeless people they would enlist from Washington, D.C. to murder the men on the island, take control of the territory, and then turn the women into sex slaves. Prosecutors say Thomas prepared for the attack by enlisting in the Air Force for military training, and Weisenberg enrolled in a fire training academy, but later flunked out.
When I heard this story, I thought to myself, that is the most goofy story I've ever heard. And that's an interesting thing. Let me tell you why. Because their lawyer actually is going to be using that as their defense. Their lawyer basically said, hey, if this sounds like the most goofy plan in history, and if it sounds absolutely impossible, it's because it is.
But in a statement to Fox 4 News, the attorney for Gavin Weisenberg said, I encourage everyone to hold their horses and stay tuned. An indictment is simply an allegation. And while there is some truth to the allegations, I believe that it will become clear what actually did not, and could not have happened. If your initial response to the government's press release was, that sounds crazy, impossible, and absurd, you might be onto something.
To give you an idea, this Goncalves Island there in Haiti has 87,000 people. So you figure about half of them are probably men, but even if it was just the females, I think they could probably still stop this attack from these two North Texas fools. I thought that would be a fun story to share with you. Sometimes people have lofty goals. You know what I have a feeling we're going to find out on this? I have a feeling we're going to find out that it was just some goofy plan between two friends who probably already knew that it was impossible. They both went through 2 rounds of military training, though, apparently to get the job done on this. But I think we all know, even if they hired all the homeless people in D.C., I still don't think it would have been enough firepower to take over an island in Haiti. But still, good to know that American kids have lofty goals nowadays, right? Now, in addition to being a goofy story, these two guys were found guilty of having videos of children in compromising positions, if you know what I mean.
Both men are accused of manufacturing child pornography by manipulating and exploiting a juvenile.
So even goofy kids that seem like they're harmless because they're kind of stupid, they can still be dangerous and not necessarily the type of people that you would want to leave alone with your children. I'm sure their parents are really proud of them right now, but hey, to their parents, at least they didn't plan on killing all the women and keeping all the men and children. That would have been a little bizarre. At least they planned on doing it the right way, right? Take out all the men and keep the women to yourselves. Hey Sean, on a serious note, let's say Gavin and Tanner were smart enough and strong enough to actually get this done. Do you think they could have handled 40,000 Haitian women all to themselves? I doubt it. They couldn't have even handled 2 Haitian women by themselves, if you ask me. I thought this was a cute story. I have a feeling they're not going to get in much trouble at all for this little attack on Haiti, but I think the child videos that they have are going to be enough to get them behind bars for a while. Is it just me, or do a lot of people, predominantly men, actually, I've never heard of a woman having it, but it seems like with men, they always end up having these videos and stuff on their computers. I just don't know why they're so brave to do that. I would assume that any site on that you can get onto online, I would assume all those sites are just loaded with FBI people and stuff. It's just kind of weird that people chance those sort of things. I just realized that earlier I had mentioned Beavis and Butthead, and this person's handle is @BitcoinBeavis. It says, "It's amazing 2 people who didn't think this plan was stupid met each other." I love that. That is a great comment. It's like, think about this. You have this harebrained idea. You share it with your military buddy, some guy that you assume has at least half a brain, and then you find out that he actually has about half a brain because he thought it was a good idea too. It's kind of comical, kind of funny, makes you chuckle. I think it's a perfect defense though. The lawyer literally says, hey, when you hear this story, you think it's a cockamamie story, it's harebrained and it's impossible and would never happen. Well, that makes it a pretty good defense, right? Sounds like 2 friends just having fun. I think I said the wrong name earlier. It's the Gonave Islands in Haiti. They were going to recruit an army of homeless men from Washington, D.C. They were going to get on a sailboat, of all things, and they were going to go take over an island in Haiti. Absolutely fantastic story. Victoria Holt says the Haiti people would have lit their asses up. I don't even think it would have taken all the Haiti people. I think 1 or 2 people on the shore probably could have taken out these fools and their homeless army from DC. How the heck were they planning on recruiting homeless people from DC? I would imagine a lot of those homeless people probably have to take certain amounts of medicine every couple of hours, if you know what I mean. SEC 9500 says 87,000 people populate the island. About 45,000 of those people are men. They plan to eliminate? Yeah. With your little sailboat crew, good luck. I was actually kind of impressed that the news channel I was watching actually played this one, because it sounds so far-fetched. But sometimes we have friends like that. In the past, I had a couple of people throughout the years that would tell tall tales. They would always tell you about how their car was cooler, how their car stereo was a little bit better than yours, how they had the latest and greatest gadget and gadget, right? Gidget and gizmo, whatever I'm trying to say, gadget and gizmo. They would always have these fantastical stories. These 2 strike me as the type that would have fantastic stories. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if these 2 wanted to get caught on purpose, because you got to remember, sometimes you become famous just because of how goofy your story is if you make the news. These guys are actually more famous for getting caught with this stupid plan than if they would have actually went through with it and got themselves killed. Abella Barbie says the usual suspects. Yeah, there's 2 white guys trying to dominate the world again, right? Holy moly. Let me know down in the comments if any of you guys watched a movie called The Explorers. It was with River Phoenix, and it was about these 3 kids that actually build their very own spaceship, and they end up actually going into outer space and on an adventure. And I just thought it was the most fun little kids movie ever, but it was apparently not as well known as some of the other kid movies like The Never-Ending Story and The Goonies. But if you think you've ever seen The Explorers with River Phoenix, let me know down below. That was absolutely one of my top 5 kids movies of all time. Really great movie. Now, does this compare to The Explorers? Kind of. It sounds like 2 guys that probably drank too much at Denny's and came up with a pretty fun idea. Now, I know it doesn't sound like a fun idea when, they're taking over and enslaving people, but I think we can all agree it was such a goofy plan that it's kind of fun to giggle and talk about. Jabril 2473 says, as someone who has seen videos of how Haitian gangs get down, the US government practically saved their lives. Well, that's the point, right? If we wouldn't have heard about this story now because they got caught, they might have actually went out there and got themselves killed, and then we would have laughed at their demise. At least this way, they can go to prison for the child videos, and hopefully they can live for the rest of their life rather than lose their lives. However, if they've been doing bad stuff with kids and we find out that it's more than just a couple videos or whatever, they might be in there for a long time for all we know. Speaking of a long time, guys, walking is something I like to do every day, but the last 2 days I didn't get a chance to walk, and it's one of those situations where I just like you, I only have 24 hours in a day, and the last 2 days were just really kind of hectic. With that being said, I'm trying to set up things so me and Mandy can do kind of a couple's reaction. I thought that would be a fun little way to maybe change the show up for a little bit. The channel itself has been really floundering. I don't really get much love from the videos, and I think it's because people don't necessarily like to see a middle-aged white guy walking up and down his neighborhood talking about stuff that they can watch on the news. So hopefully we can put together some fun reactions, and hopefully we can make the channel a little bit more successful going forward. Sometimes during the day, it's so nice out weather-wise, but the sun just is literally where you can't even look up without it being like literally right in your eyes. So if I had one negative about walking this time of year, it's just the angle of the sun and how it hits you. However, it's that same closer angle that makes it where the weather's not so hot. So I'll definitely take it. Now, even though I didn't walk the last 2 days, boys and girls, I still drank a lot of water and I still avoided sugar. Now, today is Thanksgiving, and I hope you eat your fill, right? I hope you get nice and plump. Don't eat too much turkey. You'll be farting feathers for the next week. But if you do eat, just remember, we have an advantage because we walk every day. Maybe take an extra walk or 2 for the upcoming week. Maybe instead of a half-hour walk, we walk for 60 minutes. Maybe instead of just drinking eggnog nonstop, maybe every other drink have some water. There's little game plans we can come up with in advance to kind of take the edge off of all the food we're about to eat. But again, if you end up eating everything and then some, don't feel guilty about it. Just know it's time to put on our walking shoes and kind of walk those calories off. Of course, the reason you want to do this is not just to walk off Thanksgiving, but you got to remember we're going to have a back-to-back-to-back, because right after Thanksgiving, a lot of people eat a lot for Christmas with family too. And then if you have step parents and stuff, you might even have multiple meals along the way. So plan accordingly. Drink a lot of water. It's okay to say no to that third piece of pie. By the way, I'm a firm believer that that's why Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's help us in gaining weight each year, because we don't say no to that third piece of pie. So if you're going to have a piece of pie, go for it. But say no to that third piece. If you're going to have a couple of Cokes and watch the football games on Thanksgiving, go for it. But drink a couple of Cokes, not 7 or 8 of them. You know, there's no reason why we need to get chubby and, you know, gain 20 pounds over the holidays. Is it possible? Hell yeah, it's possible. But again, that's why we're going to kind of stave off those horrible results by staying away from that stuff, or at least trying to, and keep upping the intensity on the walks. When you're walking, don't just take a slow walk. Put a little oomph in your step and maybe burn a little bit more calories than normal. Gosh, no wonder people don't watch my show anymore. I can barely talk. That's one thing that happens as you get older. You start to look at your numbers on YouTube and you say, shit, people don't even like the words that come out of my mouth, and it makes it even harder to speak. But this girl named Mandy recently came in my life, and my life has really taken a jump when it comes to just having fun and enjoying being a human being with somebody else. So I'm hoping that maybe you guys enjoy her reactions, because she makes me giggle and laugh all the time. Hopefully she'll have that same effect with you guys. I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I want to wish you a happy holidays. Let's really attack these holidays by trying to stay as fit as we can. It can be as simple as taking an extra 15-minute walk. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't eat too much pumpkin pie.